Ladies and gentlemen, we'll begin this first meeting of 2019 of Public Safety Meeting. It's good to have each and every one of you here. I'm sure all of you have stocked up on your bread and milk to make those milk sandwiches out there for the next few days. I don't think we're going to necessarily need them for the snow, maybe for the cold weather. But it's good to see each and every one of you here this evening. We got a lot of things to discuss and go over. The first thing we'll begin with is the approval of our minutes from the last meeting.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I've reviewed the minutes from the December meeting and found them to be appropriate and move to approve as submitted.
Second.
Appropriate motion and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We have asked the chairman of Property Management to be with us this evening. They're discussing a matter that they felt like should be coming to our committee, and we've asked Commissioner Alan McAdoo to come and join us this evening to bring what they have been discussing that deals with the Maple Street parking and the new judicial center. And we've also asked our county clerk to be here this evening too. So we'll ask that y'all would come forward, join us at the table. Glad to have you this evening. Welcome.
Either way, save it for the mayor just in case he wanna join us.
Whoever you would like to pull in, that's fine with us.
Okay. Well, at our last meeting, a concern was brought up about parking in our new judicial building parking garage over there at Lisa, and also the health department, and all up in that area. And our main concern is safety, and it's getting where it's getting maybe a little ridiculous. Each individual challenging other people for parking spaces, and as you know, Virgil, when you have a grand jury day, they have the tendency to take all the parking over there at the license place, and also take all the parking in front of the health department. And putting up signs is not going to help. And so we thought, before it get out of hand, we bring it to the Public Safety Committee for some type of solution to the problem. Now, we talked about several things. We talked about maybe part-time attendant in that area from the sheriff department, maybe a retired employee or something. But we also just thought about leaving it in the hands of the sheriff department, because right now he's got the security inside the building, and maybe he can come up with something to take care of the security outside the building. Lisa, you can add?
I'll just echo what he said. We have a severe problem at 319 North Maple Street. I see it every day. In the morning time, up until about lunch, it's even if there isn't a lot of traffic in my office, the parking lot is completely full. They're parking up on the curbs. They're blocking in other vehicles. Just to be able to come into the clerk's office to do any business. There's no handicap parking usually anymore for anyone coming into our office, because those spaces are being used for people going to the judicial building. One commissioner brought it to my attention week before last. He circled the parking lot for 18 minutes, found a parking place. When he did, he was yelled at because he pulled into that parking place by someone else trying to find a parking place. From the time he walked into my office to the time his business was completed was 3.5 minutes. So that tells you there was not a lot of traffic in the county clerk's office. So it's truly a situation that needs to be looked at and a solution put in place. The current signage that we have out there right now, it states what that parking lot is for, and all others will be towed. But it's we've got a problem, and when you come into the county clerk's office, normally, you know, unless it's a really long line, you're pretty much in and out of there in a real timely manner. However, when they're parking in these parking places and they're going to court, they're in there for several hours. So it's not like the parking situation is turning over. It's sitting there, and people, they're parking any way they can. Just, so, that's our situation.
Commissioner Gordon?
Yes, I was not that commissioner that she was referring to. However, myself and also Commissioner Piercy were in the clerk's office to renew tags a few weeks back, earlier in the month. And at that particular point in time, I did not have to wait in line at all. There was zero line in the office. So I was in, renewed my tag, probably in a similar time, 3-4 minute time frame. I was going out as he was coming in. He commented to me that he had to drive around like they never found a place. I said, well, that's exactly what I did 5 or 6 minutes ago. So it is a real problem. Parking lot, had I waited till the end of the month, when I have been there because of procrastination and waiting till the end of the month when there is a line, I can only imagine that you would not find a parking place. But there were people parked outside of marked places, et cetera, at the time. I was able to get in a place. There was a truck that was delivering office supplies or something. I was able, due to my car turns real sharp, but a lot of other people would not have been able to get into that place. I was able to take advantage. So I don't know exactly what the answer is. I really hate to tie up full-time law enforcement people. I don't really think that's the answer. But I do think some kind of physical enforcement and so on is probably going to be necessary because people are not reading and obeying signs.
I've been up here many times and y'all provided great service, and even I've had trouble finding a place to park. The situation here, what is it, $10 an hour for part-time? That on average that part-timers get, Lisa?
10,
12. If you do anything, you're going to be better off, not speaking for the sheriff in any way, because I'm sure he'll address this, is you're going to be better off hiring somebody, not me, that's retired. I think Phil Brooks works for you now, I believe, for instance. But I don't know that it needs to be under the direction of the sheriff unless he wants it to be. It could be under the direction of the mayor's office or anything. But I can tell you, speaking all the years I've worked there in the upper management section, I can assure you he doesn't have the personnel unless you want to give him some more, which I know it's not going to happen right now, to fill that void. The problem is, I know there's an issue since you got it built at Del Con. Everybody and their brother's parking in these three main areas, and you already having a little bit of problem before, I think. But not near as bad. I mean, people, I think, still were parking a little bit in your parking lot when the judicial building was the hub of everything. But you've got a lot of people come to the square now, and there's parking open, but at some point that's not going to be open either once the judicial building starts getting renovated and certain things get done. So I think it's almost impossible that you do parking permits on employees or designate them somewhere, but somebody's going to have to physically see who comes out. It's like we've gotten into a garbage control, at Waste Management. There's no way sheriff's office can go out there because you're going to have county tags come in, and the problem is you don't always know who's who, and you can't have the people at the garbage disposal, people trying to stop somebody from dumping. You might have a bad situation there. But I know it's going to be an issue, but it's something, as Commissioner Gurley said, I think it's something that's going to have to be thought about a little harder as to who or how that's done, and anybody knows it's going to take more than one part-time to do it, to be honest. I mean, that's just common sense. Now, you're talking about 8 hours a day, so that you're talking about 2 or 3 people right there probably, on average, because somebody can be sick or whatever. When the sheriff's office, at one point, they still have to fill in, I believe, if you have the SCOO system and if there's a SCOO patrol person out, if you don't have a backup in there or a substitute or somebody come in, the deputy's gonna have to work at. And that's kind of almost on the same line as mental health transports. It ties that deputy up from out here patrolling, serving papers, or doing whatever he needs to be doing at the same time. And I'll digress on that, leave it to whoever else wants to say something.
Sure.
Well, if you don't mind, I would like to, for one.
Come on up here.
Okay. I guess I'll go on record, no, I don't want a parking patrol. At the sheriff's office, I agree with what Commissioner Gammon has said. The sheriff's office is not the place. We write state tickets, we don't write parking tickets and things of that nature. So we're not like city and city ordinances and things of that nature. It's very true on the school. We do have part-time people that do our school patrol. We are having a heck of a time trying to keep those jobs filled. So every day I've got deputies pulled out of zone and doing school. But even there, if we get a hot call, they've got to be pulled. So, and I don't have the manpower. We do, on occasion, I got a call from Rob Mitchell late last week where they had somebody roaming the parking lot, and we did send one of our court security officers over there who are full patrol officers. However, if there's something going on at the courthouse, I'm not really at liberty to be pulling them off, because as you well know, those of the commissioners that were here, the state called for 32 to staff that courthouse. We opened it with 20, and that's all I've got. So we opened with 12 less than what the state recommended for the courthouse. I've got a study that we've done on our patrol positions, and right now, going by state, federal standards, we're 53 short in patrol. Just not our numbers, going by their numbers. So I'm not really in a position to be in parking. I think probably one thing I would suggest is look at a private company and see what might be available through a private resource. And that's just a suggestion. Yes, sir.
Mayor?
Hi, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Of course, we met at property management, and you know, I've been chasing this thing since I took over in September and trying to figure out where the vision was, who was doing what, et cetera, and working with the PBA, working with Jerry Preston, working with the contractor, with Bell. It appears to me, okay, that whenever this project was put in place and all the groups came together, the judges, everybody had input, nobody ever went past what's going to happen after we open. It appears that everybody was focused on getting the building built, getting the garage built, but nobody did a study. Nobody looked at where the traffic was going to shift. Nobody thought about, oh, Calvary's going to go down, or Pinnacle's going to go down and start using it. Nobody thought that Mercersburg Electric was going to go down and start using it. Nobody thought that the constitutional officers folks are going to go over and use it. And then when you get jam-packed with court, and on those busy days, there was no study done. Okay, so we've been after Jerry Preston, Mr. Preston, since September, asking him to come and do a study. You know, who can you refer us to? Well, it wasn't until after the property management meeting the other night, we finally said, we have been waiting on you and publicly ask you to help us get somebody, even it's going to cost us more money, or somebody, to do a study. And everybody just keeps kicking the can further down the road, and the traffic's not going away. It just seems to be getting worse. So Friday, this was dated January 25th at 4:45. This is from Jerry Preston. It says, I'm getting a parking study proposal from Bob. I will keep you updated. KCI, Bob Murphy, PE, PTOE, RLS. It looks like he's vice president of regional practice leader with a firm out of Brentwood, KCI Technologies. So I have no idea. It's going to take somebody to come in and do a study. I have no idea what it's going to cost us. why that wasn't thought about when the planning was done, you know, for this, that this is the after effect, and that's what we're having to deal with right now, is coming in and trying to clean up. But at least now I have, as of last Friday, I have some direction for a private firm to come in and study it. But we've been asking since September, just so we can talk to somebody.
Are employees involved in any way? Alan, do you know? Are employees involved in any way? County employees, not just from your office, but from the judicial building, the downtown area?
I have no idea on that.
You'll probably remember 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 16 years ago, Bill, there was a commissioner from out in the Eagleville area, Ron Williams, that got all, I don't know how to say it, but all anal as it related to employees taking up all of these parking spots around the square and the shops having no parking spots for customers. And that was looked at for a long, long time without a solution, because the final say-so was that employees are people too, so they had the right to park, and there were some restrictions put on as it related to 1 hour parking and 2 hour parking. Those things kind of changed back in those days, but there really wasn't a really good solution to that problem. And I'm afraid that we'll get right back into it unless somebody does something professionally that can give us some ideas and suggestions. Maybe that's the area that will help us overcome some of these. If we built a parking garage for the judicial building and the judicial building is not able to use it or is not using it because of others, then I think that's the thing that we must solve, is that that thing should be restricted, and I mean highly restricted. If it's not, and I had the opportunity to pull my car in a garage that was covered and out of the weather, that's what I do.
Well, sure.
So something's going to have to happen to restrict some of those areas, I think. But the deal with what you're facing, Lisa, is what a lot of other people have faced on a much smaller scale for a number of years. And I'm promising you that it'll only get worse. It will not get better. It will only get worse. Just some reports that we received today from the Planning Commission as to the number of new homes that are coming into this area over the last couple of years. Those predictions are that, like the Chamber and others have made, is holding true. So it's only going to get worse. So there needs to be not only a right now solution, but a future look at how we're going to handle all of those things. It really is. And you know, I'm a customer of yours, and I would like to be able to pull in and get my tags and get out. But I don't know that there's a real smart thing that we can say, hey, this is a fix, but I think the mayor's kind of hit the nail right on the head. Let's get this thing done as quickly as we possible and see if there are some remedies that we can come up with. And I don't blame the sheriff. If you asked me to do it, if I was sheriff, you asked me to do it, I'd say no. Even if there was an order come out, I'd still say no. I think we have a hard time paying the deputies what they need to be paid, and to add to that particular situation, just to me, is just almost unacceptable. So I'm in agreement that we have a real serious problem, but for us to sit around and try to hammer out what the solutions are, I think the mayor is right on target. We need to let somebody else do some kind of a study and give us some ideas and feedback.
Commissioner Gammon, I think that was up first.
You was asking about how many county employees, probably 80% of the courthouse is parking over there, if not more, to be honest. And what brought,
In the parking garage?
yes, sir. And what brought that about, of course, is going out, you know, and I'm not speaking for any elected official in way, form, or fashion. I'm just talking from past experience. Parking tickets that people get to city, you got a constant rotation of employees running out and moving their cars. So one evil begets the other. So right now, it's not costing them anything to park. They can park there all day long until they get off work, you know, inclement weather or whatever. But I know there was some talk about charging at the parking garage at one time. And
We're still kicking that around. We're going to
I don't know that that's going to solve the problem. I
May
think,
not.
as the mayor said, it's bigger than that. It's a lot bigger than that. And the kicker is, you're going to go back again to, you know, I know it sounds a convenience, but if you work at a county building and everybody works and this and that, but if you have an opportunity to park somewhere where it's not going to cost you, then Nashville, I mean, I'm talking about privatizing, they privatize the parking lots, they privatize garages, they do this and that. But it's going to cost you to start parking. Is the problem with that. And I'm not advocating that in any way, but I know employees like the federal building in Nashville, they have deals worked out with parking lots to where they pay a much less cost of being able to park there out of the convenience of being there at the federal courthouse. But if you don't do that, I can assure you, if you miss 1 hour of time being there, it's going to cost you $50. I know for a fact. And you know, and the next thing you know, they're crashing your credit report. So it's going to take some studying. I mean, it's a no-brainer.
I think
Yeah, I'd like to see this study expedited as fast as possible. It is an issue. It affects us as commissioners. It affects every other citizen of Rutherford County. There are no, I'll make it clear, there are no reserved parking places for commissioners at the county court clerk's office. So we don't have a reserved spot. As I just stated earlier, when we go in to get our tags renewed, we experience the same problems. And several of us apparently have tags expiring in January and have recently experienced those problems. But I think some education on the part of those, from the county standpoint, of those employees, encouraging those employees in the judicial building and those that don't work in either the register's deeds office or the property assessor's office or the county court clerk's offices that should be parking there, they should be parking in the building that's appropriate for them, would be good. But that, I'd just like to see this expedited as fast as we can. If it takes appropriating funds for that, I'm all for that.
Mayor, he didn't give any idea of a cost of what the
No,
study
sir,
would
he said
be.
he had identified a company, and, you know, I think that's maybe why he's been kicking the can a little bit further down the road, because I believe when he actually works, he was hired by the PBA. He works for the PBA. Right, Rick? And I think his money is almost out of what his contract was working for the PBA, because we're coming up on 1 year very quickly. 1 year warranty on that building, so all those funds that he was working under and his funds he was getting paid for. So I think this commission, in order to expedite it, it might delay it a little bit, because now we got to figure out, okay, we still got to use him to contract with this guy that he's identifying, and pay Jerry to contract with this guy to do the study, and what's that going to cost? So I can call him first thing in the morning and find out what is the process.
I mean,
Where do we go from here, Lisa, as far as
we could
we're
still
going to have to
kind of,
appropriate money?
well, if there's money left in the project, there still might be some to update that report
Okay.
and see how much money is left in the
Sure.
project to see if there's money left to do construction
Sure.
study.
And of course, I don't think he was ever given that direction from the building committee in the
No.
beginning. He was there to work on behalf and ride herd on the contractor for the PBA to build the buildings. He was never given any direction or any incentive to figure out what to do with the traffic. You know, so now here we're facing having to pay the piper on the traffic that's been created of the building of those two new buildings. So it's in that next step, which in my opinion should have been thought about 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever it was, but here we are. I don't mind, I'll call Jerry in the morning and if you can check in the morning and see how much money we have left, we'll try to expedite this process, Commissioner, as quickly as possible.
Is a motion in order, is an appropriate motion in order?
Yes, sir. I would like that.
Joe, you want to do it? Or
Yeah, I'll
Joe?
make a motion that we authorize the mayor to expedite a solution to the parking issue at the county clerk / property assessor / register of deeds office, 315, I think it is. 319.
Also include the health department.
And the health department building to find a solution to the parking issues there.
Commissioner Sereno, seconds that. Any discussion further? One question I have is, once we find that out, do you want it to come back to this committee? Or do we need to come back to property?
So I think this committee would be the appropriate committee, public safety.
I had a feeling you want to hand this potato off.
Public safety.
Okay.
The torch has been passed.
Why don't it come back before this committee, and this committee will make a decision and forward it on to property management for their consideration.
I knew you'd do that. That sounds good. Make it a joint effort.
Okay. You want to read our amendment back, our motion back, so everybody understands what they're voting on?
Authorize the county mayor to expedite a solution to the parking issues at the clerk's building at 319 North Maple, as well as the old health department. To find a solution to the parking issues with report back to public safety committee and then report to property management committee.
Okay. I'm going to call for a voice vote on this. And I know there's not money involved, but I want everybody's
Call the roll.
call the roll on it, please.
Commissioner Irvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Gammon,
Yes.
Commissioner Gurley,
Yes.
Commissioner P. Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Phillips.
Aye.
Commissioner Sereno,
Yes.
Commissioner Reed.
Yes. Motion carried.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, sir. Glad having you tonight.
All right.
Before this crowd leaves, I want to mention something. I appreciate what she does there. She gave me a bit of information today. This is a very interesting chart, and it shows where we started in 2010 and how the population has increased and how we're looking at the number of transactions that are happening down there and the way that it's increasing down there, and it's just amazing what's going on there. The bottom line down here are the people who are handling those transactions. If you look at it, it's almost a straight line. So I think that's something we need to compliment her for what's going on down there and what we are seeing happening as far as that go. But you know, you were mentioning, Commissioner Gurley, about going in there. I went in there today and there was a line backed out to the door when I walked in, and I had my renewal in my hand, but I went over and used the kiosk. And I stuck that in there and it read that barcode and it took my credit card. In less than a minute, I was through. And I looked at all these other people standing in line, and I started to give a speech right there in the middle of there. And says, folks, if y'all are standing here just to see these people, that's nice of you, but you can be in and out and gone. And I went in and told Lisa, I said, can't we put these in every grocery store in Rutherford County? And I said, we can move a lot of people through here. Of course, you can't use it for if you change your address or if you've got to have some other transaction in it. But it is amazing, that machine right there, and how quick you can do that. It gives you that little sticker to go on your license tag, and you can be in and out and gone. And I'm just really impressed with it. And but I do want to say congratulations and what you're doing with your staff down there and how well you're doing it.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Thanks.
All right, we have next on our agenda amendment to the juvenile court child support enforcement grant.
Yes, and this is an amendment to take care of business in 1920 fiscal year. And it's just the next year of the contract. This is for one of the referees to handle the child support. And the state will pay us 66% of the cost of that employee's time in handling those cases.
So it's matching with us with 34%.
Yes, so it is just the next year. The total project for next year looks like the grant and the grant match is total of $70,955 for next fiscal year for the 1920 fiscal year. It amends the maximum liability of the contract to $98,348.
Any discussion or questions?
We have a choice.
We would like to have the money come in to help pay this person's salary.
I move to approve the request,
I'll
Mr.
second
Chairman.
that.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? We'll have a call the roll.
Commissioner Urban?
Yes.
Commissioner Gammon?
Yes.
Commissioner Gurley?
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips?
Aye.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Probation report. Mr. Key.
Good evening, everyone. I'll make this one quick. So in our reports, it's kind of a little bit more information this time, but initially we have our stats, and I'll let y'all look through those. In our drug court population, you'll see 50% of our clients coming in have an opiate or heroin problem. The other 24% have a meth problem. So those are the three biggest substances that we see every day. Our meth intake is going back up. I don't think that's a surprise to the sheriff at all, or to the others, but it's between that and heroin. So, two biggest substances that we're seeing. Our numbers are increasing as far as the clients coming in with a substance use disorder. And the age and the onset is much younger than we're seeing. So we're up to about 150, 160 people in all of our programs right now. So those numbers are staying about the same.
Any questions?
How's the Veterans Court going?
It's going okay. We have, the numbers seem low in that, but we are assessing a lot of folks and we're trying to get them in. The hard part is a lot of our veterans, their charges sometimes prohibit them from being able to come in just due to the violent nature that they are. So we're unable to really work with them. So that's the unfortunate part.
And a lot of those are probably drug related.
Some, a lot of them are PTSD related, alcohol, and if there's a threat of violence with a weapon, things like that, the DA's office has been very reluctant to allowing those individuals, and the victim has been reluctant to allow them to come in.
Do we have any graduation coming?
I am not sure, but I will call you, I'll send out the invites as usual if we do.
We usually take these all in one motion, so if you've got other...
Keep going?
Keep going.
Okay. The probation, we'll go down to that for a moment, or to give you our numbers later. So for the month of December, the total expenditures for the department was $102,811.79. The total revenue collected during December, just at probation, was $40,761.15. So that's a difference of $62,050.64. Those that we placed onto voluntary payment agreements with the clerk's office during December was $17,193. For the fiscal year, on the payment agreements that we are trying to collect is $66,654.50. Those that have failed to come into a payment agreement for the fiscal year has been $138,888.25. So we've had more people walk out the door than we've had actually go in to do what they're supposed to do. And that's a problem that's ongoing that we are trying to correct, and to come up with some mechanism or way that their case is not complete until they have that piece of paper signed at the clerk's office, noting that payment. But for the entire calendar year of 18, $278,639.09 has walked out the door. That's just due to probation. If you added the clerk's costs, you're over $1 million.
We discussed this in the September meeting too.
We have, and we're still trying to find ways to do that. The hard part is because of the prior lawsuit, the court has been very reluctant in trying to do some different measures, but there's got to be some
There's
way.
got to be some, because if not, it's just going to continue to skyrocket because the
Then I included in here the SCRAM report. This is for fiscal year, for the calendar year of 18. I've never shown this committee this report. And this kind of gives you an idea. SCRAM, we have a rate that we have to pay, and these are for all your DUI offenders that are have been released from jail and are waiting their case to be adjudicated. So the court will place them, and we will monitor them prior to that, just to make sure that they're not drinking and driving or anything else. And you'll see that report. About 65.5% of those placed on SCRAM have no issues, no problems. They don't drink. So basically 35% are who we're looking at. But from the total year, we had 98% of the total number of clients on there had sober days. So from a DUI, for those out there driving, that's a pretty high rate. So some pretty great numbers. And that shows the same as a lifetime of that. But we monitored 248 individuals last year that had a DUI 2 or greater. And we had a 98% success rate for them not drinking during that time that they were on those places. We are also working on trying to create our reentry program with the sheriff's office as well as a correctional work center. The gentleman we hired has been working right now with Superintendent Cope and his staff, trying to come up with a program that's evidence-based, that's scientific, that we feel will be the best approach going forward. We will take our ideas from models of other successful reentry programs throughout the country, and hopes to see if that will reduce the recidivism rate here in the county. Eventually, we'll introduce that at the sheriff's office as well, but that'll be a much slower process to be able to implement and to integrate into there. But we will start it at the workhouse, and then hopefully by March, we'll have a program up and running. Outside of that, the only thing I have left is an amendment just to recognize revenue.
Okay, I'll take a motion to approve his reports.
Move to approve.
Have a second?
second.
Second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Budget amendment?
And this amendment this is the federal grant that we've had since 2017. Each year when we have to recognize that revenue and place it, if there are overages or overruns, and we need to move them from the line items just to increase those amounts from carryovers. This is those dollars that are being carried over into those specific line items, just recognizing that. And that's what's before you. So there's about $39,500, give or take, that's that we're trying to just put in different line items.
You've seen his request.
Move to approve the budget amendment, Mr. Chairman.
Motion. Second. Commissioner Gamble. Voice vote.
I thought that was Irvin, wasn't it? Irvin, or Gammon?
Gamble?
Okay.
Yeah. You second the motion.
Okay. Commissioner Irvin?
Yes.
Commissioner Gammon?
Yes.
Commissioner Gurley?
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips?
Aye.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Somebody's hanging in the corner.
All right, I believe we're looking at Paul's now. Michael.
Evening. I thought we would just focus, since we have 2 months of reports, they've been provided for you, but I thought we would focus on where we are at the end of December fiscal year, since we have some other things to talk about. For the first 6 months of the fiscal year, we took in 3,321 animals. You can see that we had 1,772 adopted, 211 euthanized, 1,023 reclaimed. The biggest thing that I like to look at is at the bottom of that first page, of that page there. It shows our live release rate as being 91.1%. So when you take everything in there, we're still exactly where we want to be. The record for no euthanasias for space continues. It'll be 2 years, I think, April the 1st. So we're still plugging along there. We've had over 16,000 people visit the shelter, 14,660 log calls and voicemails. We're seeing our call volume go up. Our calls received for the first 6 months was 11,463. You can see the breakdown by jurisdictions. If you take the last 2 years, we've gone up about 18%. And then for our officers, they've traveled over 71,000 miles. The next thing is our December rabies exposure and bite report. You can see there the totals that we had for the month. Our rabies exposure and bite report goes by calendar year versus fiscal year, so this will finish up 2018. We had a total of 442 bites. 22 of those were tested, none came back as positive. And we had 113 other exposures. 13 of those were tested, only 1 positive. So it's been, knock on wood, almost a year since we've had a positive rabies case test in Rutherford County.
So we get to take the Rockville skunk off.
We do. January the 1st, removed, yes, sir.
I'd like to make a comment.
Yes,
I saw something on a Facebook post the other day. Someone had found an animal and they had found it and they put it on Facebook, and someone came in and commented, "Don't take it to Paws because they're a kill shelter." And that kind of disturbed me. I did not make a comment. I've learned, do not make comments on Facebook on anything. I wish people happy birthday and that's it. And, but I'd like for people to know that unless absolutely necessary, we do everything we can to release that animal back to an individual or into the wild or whatever is appropriate. And we're by far, we do not just bring animals in. If you bring it in, it will not automatically be killed. And so anyone listening, that's not what Paws is about.
it's not what Paws is about now. Now, previously, based on where we were in this county, much more rural with those type of
We're
things.
living in the present.
We're living in a completely different age, and unfortunately, that's kind of a PR nightmare that we're probably going to face for many more years, just as generations turn over.
Is that all your report?
Yes, sir.
Nick?
Well, I figured they were.
But the
y'all wanted to vote on
legislative
the
changes,
report.
we'll do that following his
Move
report.
to approve the report, Mr. Chairman.
Motion made to approve the report. Commissioner Corley seconds. All those in favor of approving the report, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. I believe you have something on some legislative changes.
Yes, sir. We've had. Oh, I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman, Michael came to me and asked me, what could we do? And so I've asked him, we need to go through the proper channels, come to this committee, and steering if we're going to bring something to the General Assembly to change the laws. And we're running out of time because the drop dead date for filing pieces of legislation, I believe, is February the 6th. So we'll need to muster this through after he gives an explanation. So, Michael, if you would, explain to them what is currently in law, and then his hands basically under the, when we created the Environment Court, I think Paws was supposed to go to the Environment Court, and he's not getting any response from that court. So I'll let him explain his issues and why many times his animal control officers' hands are tied. So I said the only way we can do this is through putting some teeth into the current code through legislation. And so, Michael, why don't you explain to the members what's currently and what we can do to change that?
Okay. I think I need to maybe start with a little bit of past history. When I came here, we were taking items to General Sessions Court. We had 2 judges at that time. We were prosecuting basically any animal-related issue. There was only one that we had to work with the county extension agent at that time, and that's changed regarding large animals. We were really pushing, my department was to start the environmental court, mainly to get our officers out of court quicker. We had officers that were going to court that would be there all day only to have a case dismissed, and we were looking at it from a financial aspect. That's 8 hours or 10 hours, whatever the shift is, that I pull them off the road. We don't have them out working with limited resources. So under previous administration, we pushed to have that done, and that started in June of last year. We were taking cases. We were still having officers that were there all afternoon, but what happened was all the cases were put on one court date. So instead of having 1 officer here or 2 officers per day or whatever there, I had all of them there, and cases weren't getting settled out of that. So in, I believe it was November, we were told that Paws was going to be removed out of the environmental court. The environmental court is still going on with, I think, just building codes, and I'm not sure if Larry's had any fire issues or any solid waste issues that have gone there. So now we're back to being just on regular court dockets. So we've had to divvy up that we have a couple of officers that go every week to court, and they're there for, again, multiple hours with really no resolution. And I've had officers ask me several times, why should I even write the citations? The citation is the last tool in our toolbox, but then when we get there and it's thrown out, they're at their wits' end on what we should do. So in all of this process with the environmental court, it was brought up, and it had been brought up several years ago, that officers did not fall under law enforcement according to the law. The law says you have to meet 3 standards, and they said we didn't meet those. But we had a 2007 Attorney General opinion that said that we were qualified as officers under the law to handle these type cases. So when we started the environmental court, that was brought up again. We brought out that Attorney General opinion again, and this time we were told that that is just an opinion. It's not law. We're not going to follow that. So they backed out at first and said we couldn't prosecute under aggravated cruelty to animals. So we started looking at other alternatives there. Then we started running into issues with even our just misdemeanor cruelty to animals and handling some of those misdemeanor cases. So what we're looking to do here is, since we were told that the Attorney General opinion is just that and not law, we're asking to have some clarifying statements added into Section 3914-200 in the animal, as it pertains to animal cruelty. So it specifically says in the law, not just the opinion, that animal control officers fall under and are able to prosecute misdemeanor and felony animal cruelty. I'm not a lawyer by any means, so the stuff that I provided to you all, I've tried to look at different aspects of the law to see where we need to make sure that as we do this, it gives us a better definition. The other thing that I thought, while we take this and we're kind of opening up this chapter to look at, under the aggravated cruelty statute, it says that aggravated cruelty means conduct which is done or carried out in a depraved and a sadistic manner. It's very difficult for us to prove that something was done in a sadistic manner. We asked gosh, several years ago, and Senator Tracy did carry something, but it really never made it through committee to take out that word and just replace it with or, so it's in a depraved or a sadistic manner when it comes to aggravated cruelty. But basically, we're having a definition issue as it pertains to this.
If I'm reading this right, I got a little concern because these things you said definition-wise, understand. I don't really understand why you can't initiate a warrant for those particular areas if you have the evidence that says it happened. I would assume Mr. Citizen could do the same normally. The thing I'm concerned about is where it says officer means on 201. Can you kind of elaborate on that just a second? And then 2113, let's see, 213A. Is that being added in, or is that already there?
Those are laws that are currently already there, so I didn't want to open up the definition and then it kind of block it in to where it only included us but excluded other law enforcement officers. So I put those in there because those are specific laws that deal with other law enforcement. I didn't want it to seem like by adding the definition we were now excluding folks that have been included before. The biggest issue is when it comes over to it talks about in one of those laws, a peace officer, and it lists the three things that they are. It's the ability to maintain order, investigate offenses, and the ability to make arrests. And that's the issue where the Attorney General opinion is saying that we have the ability to do that, but the judicial system is saying we do not.
I'd have to say they also have to follow under post standard also. And I'm not sure where that's at. Maybe I'm misreading it or something, but where it says make arrest is, are you taking out a warrant period or are you initiating an arrest?
We are issuing a citation
Okay.
in lieu of arrest, and if we're not able to get the citation, then we're taking out warrants. But when we go down now to get the warrant taken out, we can't get a warrant for aggravated, period. We're having issues getting warrants even for misdemeanors.
Who's telling you can't?
We're getting word from the commissioner's office kicked up to the judge's office. We're having major issues getting warrants.
Well, I'm trying to backtrack. It sounds like you need to go talk to the judges.
Yes,
And
sir.
get better clarification on what the requirement is. I personally, I don't understand if you're trying to initiate something, why you can't get a warrant. You know, the bottom line, I know that they're the magistrates and all that at the same time, but, you know, I just I didn't understand if you're just taking out a warrant or make arrest, because it is a little difference there. And then I've been in many situations where the Attorney General's opinion is just an opinion. That's not law. That's what you always get hit with when somebody disagrees with you.
This coming to you, I know you said that we should be talking to the judges. I can assure you we've had multiple meetings with the judges. Mayor Ketchum is trying to set up a meeting with the judges that.
They don't want to meet.
They don't want to meet?
I won't say they.
So for the last 6 or 8 months, my staff and I might as well be banging our head against that wall right there when it comes to animal cruelty in this county, and it's very unfortunate.
So by doing this, what's going to give you the authority for them to issue a warrant at that time?
Well, when it includes us as an officer there, and then it adds this wording into those language, it should open it up to where it includes us in that.
I don't see how they're going to let that happen.
Well, wouldn't they require post like you were talking about, post certification, and we got to spend $4,000 or $5,000 to send them through post training?
Yeah, but I mean, that's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to debate anything. I feel your pain there. I understand. I'm a little confused because, you know, they won't allow you to initiate, but the problem is, I know there's legislation right now to allow EMTs and I believe firemen to carry weapons, you know, with proper training and stuff, to my understanding. I think we just voted on 2 fire marshals doing the same. And, you know, we're not talking about carrying weapons here, I know. But at the same time, I don't think you can put your people on the same level as a police officer.
No, and I don't.
But in legislation, I may be wrong. I'm sorry, but that's what it sounds like. This is confusing to me. I'm sorry.
What the issue here that we're trying to address is this: when it comes to animal cruelty laws as written now, anybody else in the state of Tennessee can enforce those if they're an animal control officer, but for some reason within Rutherford County, I can't. And I hope that sums it up, and I hope that doesn't come across wrong, but that's where we are.
He's very frustrated, and so the officers, so they're to the point to where they don't even want to issue any citations because it doesn't do any good, and they go to the court. So I'm not sure what the next step would be.
I think we need to go to our attorney and really go through it. I did quite a bit of reading on this earlier in the day. Tennessee Code, anybody ever gets in and reads Tennessee Code, it's confusing at best. It is, you know, laws tend to get passed without removal of other things, but I was surprised to find out that SPCA can go out here and do some of this type stuff. Humane Society, an officer, they're not even a government person, but we've given them the authority to do some of this type of stuff. Under 14.210, but then if you go back into some of these other things, mayors and aldermen of cities and municipalities are conservators of the peace. So the whole term officer, I know what you're talking about, Virgil, and I think that's the reason it needs to be there can be a person who has power to enforce certain laws, but not necessarily be a certified police officer in the definition of a law enforcement officer, or someone who's gone through the academy. And I don't, no more than you, want to allow that to become prolific. So it's at here like 3414.210A, the agents of any society which is incorporated for the prevention of cruelty to animals, upon being appointed thereto by the president of such society in any county, may within that county make arrest and bring before any court thereof offenders found violating this part with regard to non-livestock animals. So I can form a society and go arrest somebody. That does not mean I'm a sworn law enforcement officer. But in the sense of this definition, so I think this is something that really needs some, in my opinion, study so that we don't step on anything. We don't want to make these people, we don't want them really to be seen as sworn law enforcement officer. That puts that if they're seen as sworn law enforcement officers, they better be carrying a gun. They're seen as animal control officers. That's the way we want them seen. So I really think, I don't know that we're going to be able to get it done in the time frame we were talking about. In the meantime, I think we need to do some more talking to our judges and so on. If things are being pulled out of environmental court, then maybe we need to do away with environmental court, because it's obviously not working the way we intended. Because if someone who was not, who formerly enforced some things in regard to environmental things like illegal burning and so on, but not being a full-time sworn officer, you know, if it's not for such things as that, if it's not for those things along that line, then why do we have an environmental court? But I fully agree with you, Virgil. I mean, this is a deep subject that we can step into it and incur a lot of liability real quick.
That's my only concern. I know you guys got your handfuls, and I'm an advocate to get y'all up there, better pay everything, and we brought that up the last time. I guess the thing I just don't understand is did they give a reason why they won't work with y'all and the judges? Or is it because maybe not proper investigation, or a person investigating is not properly trained? Or
Their reason was under the 210 that we do not qualify as law enforcement.
Well, I don't know that you have to. That's the
Yeah,
thing.
and that's what I don't understand. I mean, if an agent under that TCA, like I said, if an agent of some society qualifies to go out here and make arrests and obtain warrants, then why do our government funded, government employed officers.
I mean, that's part of our codes, right? County codes, that this is what we enforce. We say, do we need, I'm just asking, do we need to ask, maybe somebody can talk to the judge, but do we need to, if we can't get an answer, do we need to ask the judge?
Yeah.
Or maybe talk
Maybe
to
we
us.
should invite the judge to come before this committee and
Just explain that.
Explain that to
find out
us.
what's going on.
Yeah,
That's what I was
What
sitting
do we
here
need to
thinking,
do?
because, of course,
I want it done right, not quick.
They get it resolved.
Of course, Mr. Gregory knows my feeling on HSUS to begin with, and if they can make arrests, I have a problem to begin with, and we can't do what we can do. And I think that's where we're going to need to, we need to know why. And we need to have these answers, and
Mr.
what
Mayor,
we can do.
have we got legal input?
I'm sorry.
Is this,
Yeah,
did this have legal input from our county attorney?
This, I'm sorry.
We have that meeting tomorrow, Josh.
Yeah, we have a meeting, there's a meeting set up with Josh tomorrow to go over this. But I think Commissioner Gurley has a better point. We may not be able to beat that deadline to go back through the processes of the committees, but I think if this committee wanted to ask the environmental judge to come and ask the questions, why she's not allowing them to do their job. You know, I sense their frustration. You know, if they got a dog out there that's 98 degrees and not being watered, they should have some authority to issue a warrant, right?
Is the environmental judge the one that's refusing?
Yes, sir.
Who does the environmental judge work for?
State of Tennessee, I guess. Is that she's not a circuit judge, so I guess she would work for the county, right? I don't know, General
General Sessions.
That General Sessions, that's correct.
Who's her boss?
I guess the only power you have is budget.
Well, what do you think, commissioners? Where do we want to go? Where do we go with this?
I'll have some of the same concerns Commissioner Gammon has in terms of authorizing to be modifying any code that would give law enforcement in the sense of general law enforcement authority to do. However, there's statutory authority that I just read that appears to give people of a self-appointed society that authority, that yet we're not giving this. So why that would be recognized by a judge, and maybe the judge doesn't recognize that, but we have a well-organized, well-disciplined organization run here in the county is doing basically the same thing. So I think we do need some answers. Maybe it would be good to ask the judge, to whoever that is, to whoever runs the environmental court, to come and explain their reasoning in doing this, and maybe give us some ideas of what we need to do to make this right. So I don't think we should do that within an adversarial context, but let's look,
get
this
the
is not
answers,
working.
that's what we're looking for.
What do we need to do
Absolutely.
to make things right?
What if he tells you, no, I'm not coming?
What?
What if he says, no, I'm not coming?
Well, if the judge says, whoever it is says they're not coming, I don't know that we have a whole lot of those. And we do.
We just want to talk. Everybody needs to communicate.
Mr. Gregory, has our county attorney been involved in this?
Our meeting tomorrow.
Meeting tomorrow? Yes,
Yeah,
Because I would suggest our county attorney be involved in this.
I would say so too.
Give us these answers. Might help us in this too.
Okay. The only legal counsel that we've sought out has just been with the district attorney.
So I think our county attorney needs to be involved in this.
I agree. You've got a real problem, and we want to help you with this problem.
We'll meet with him tomorrow. All the no's a no.
Let us know.
So we'll just carry this on from there and get that answer from our legal.
Any other questions? Thank you all. Have a good night. Appreciate your help.
Want to extend it to Judge to come next month?
Yeah, we will.
Yes, Chairman.
That was like,
Yes.
Is that an invitation for the judge to come next month?
Okay, emergency management.
these people do their job.
How y'all doing? You have my report in front of you. I'll hit a few highlights on it in the interest of time. And also I have two grants that are pretty common every year that come through my office that I'd like to present to the board on to budget. Over the past, like I said, it's a 2-month report. We've done a lot of teaching because in the wintertime things tend to, for some reason, slow down. We taught some incident command courses, 300 and 400, to primarily Murfreesboro, I believe, Fire. We've also participated and helped out some other training. The Christiana Volunteer Fire Department came to us and wanted to have a class instance involving flammable liquids by rail, which is provided by some federal agencies. It's totally free to us. And so we hosted that because they didn't have a place to have it, but we trained 43 firefighters, not only from them, but from Rutherford County Fire as well. That was on the 12th of this past month. We're also, as you know, there's a couple meetings there talking about the air show. You're going to have meetings with the airport as far as safety in the air show. That's, believe it or not, that'll be on top of us before we know it in June. The big thing I want to talk about, oh, by the way, we also supported and helped 45th CST out at Smyrna, civil support team, the National Guard team there. They had some training, they needed a place and a little bit of help putting on their training, so they used a site that y'all might be familiar with. It's where your future solid waste is going to be. There's a house there that got used for some, basically set up like there was a lab of some sort there, and they went in and did their testing and things of that nature. So that was a little bit of fun there. This past week, we hosted a basic public information officer course as well as joint information officer course, joint information center course. Excuse me. Two people really helped us out with that. Ashley McDonald out of Murfreesboro Fire, as well as Hannah Bleem out of Williamson County EMA, who are both PIOs in their own right and very good, and they work really hard. And I wanted to say in front of the cameras in front of y'all that I really appreciate the assistance we have with that, because that would have never gotten off if not for their help. As far as upcoming events, I've got a couple of my staff going to some statewide Tier 2 training. Tier 2 is your facilities that have reportable quantities of hazmat. We got a couple of my people going up there for training. I have one of my people that's involved in the FEMA's what's called Advanced Academy, which they attend about 1 week each quarter, write a paper and a bunch of other stuff to be certified as Advanced Academy graduate in emergency management. Kerry Clark's been doing that and working real hard on that. We have the monthly communications exercise with FEMA coming up, a Homeland Security Conference in February we'll attend, and we're also working with the Sheriff's Office on some Sheriff's Office as well as Murfreesboro PD on some Teach Active Shooter training that's coming up in February. And of course it's budget time for me, and we're teaching a MERT class, which is a radiological class on the 19th of February. We didn't have that many responses. As you can see, there's only about 4 there. The one you probably heard the most about was last Friday. If you were in around Thompson Lane or Miller Coliseum, there was a gas leak there where a 4-inch main had some problems. And it took from about, it was supposed to be repaired by about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It started that morning. It took till 11 p.m. for that to be completed due to some issues with the company fixing it. But that, unless you have specific questions, that is our report for this month. Like I said, I got 2 grants I want to discuss with you.
Okay.
Move to approve the report, Mr. Chairman.
Motion made to approve the report. Mr. Irwin, Commissioner Irwin, second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, let's hear from your grants.
Grants. I have 2 grants, and these are the ones you'll see from my office every year. The first one I'll talk about will include a budget amendment, and that's the Homeland Security Grant for 2018. Homeland Security grants always run in arrears as far as what year it is. I know it's 2019, but it's kind of a slow process from the feds. For various projects throughout, the money flows through us. There's $94,645 in the grant. I would like your permission for it to be moved forward to the Budget Committee. Like I said, it pays for projects that are presented through subcommittees within the county. Then we take those all the way up to the Homeland Security District. And I'm on the joint task force that votes. Basically, we draw the red line about what's going to get paid for and what don't. Each year, the district, which is 7 counties, and we're in that county, Williamson County's in there, Davidson County, Cannon, Sumner, Wilson. But, we decide on how you spend. It's normally almost $700,000 for those 7 counties. It does not get split up evenly by county. It gets done based on the merits of the projects that are presented. One thing I like to tell people is if you'll remember back years ago when they bought the armored vehicle for the sheriff's office, that's where that money came from. That was a good year as far as this amount of money, but it's been pretty steady now for some time. So overall, Rutherford County and the cities within Rutherford County this year on various projects have $94,645 worth of that grant.
That's what you're going to request?
Yes.
No, that's what.
That's what we're getting, excuse me.
They're funding.
That's what they're funding, based on the projects we put forward.
Let me get this straight. You've already made the request. It's been approved. We just need to accept it.
That's all I'm asking you.
That's what you're asking, you're getting.
Please
that
take the
amount.
money. It's not a match type thing.
I'll make a motion to approve this budget amendment.
Commissioner Shirley, second. Commissioner Gammon.
He said please.
The other one is already in, there's no budget amendment with it, but the other.
Wait.
Wait, we got to vote.
Oh, that's right.
Are we approving your document, your government grant contract?
I'm asking that as well.
Okay, and
The budget amendment.
Okay.
Sorry.
Do you want to take them together or separate?
Let's take them together. We got commissioners wanting to get to the mountains before it snows.
That's what I'm trying to help it.
Let's hear that.
Oh, what is about the, oh,
I think
you
I
want
wanna
both
do
of them
this.
together?
Yes, on both,
Oh, I thought you
yes.
meant taking the budget amendment and the contract together. Okay, the other one, I'm sorry, is Emergency Management Performance Grant. We get the same amount of money every year, which is $69,350. We have to perform. In other words, there's quarterly reports we have to do to make certain that we have the proper training within our emergency management agency, and we're keeping the correct reports. It's basically, honestly, it's easy money every year, and that's what it amounts to. The amount on it has not changed in years. I keep hoping it will, but it probably won't. But I'm just asking y'all to accept this. It's already in my budget. That's why you don't have a budget amendment.
That motion include both of them?
Yes, the budget amendment and the contracts.
Contract. Voice vote.
Commissioner Irvin?
Yes.
Commissioner Gammon?
Yes.
Commissioner Gurley?
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips?
Aye.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. All right, Ms. Lynn. Juvenile detention report.
Good evening.
Good evening.
We have before you tonight reports for November and December. I can tell you that we have already received, since we printed this, in full monies from Sumner County, Madison County, and Coffee County, so that just leaves Benton for this last period. I'm going to go maybe quicker than usual since it's 2 months. I can also tell you that I do not have budget amendments. That was an error on the agenda. So any questions about our yearly activity, I will answer. Our STD for November was awesome. We had no positivity results for November 18. However, December made up for it with a little more than 21% of those that we tested. Really, beyond that, I'll happily answer questions, but I think those, I have hit the main points.
That testing for positive is mainly what?
We test for chlamydia and gonorrhea. So they can be positive for either of those two or both of those two. So on that report, when you see C, that's chlamydia, G, gonorrhea, and the CG is for both.
Okay.
We test for all of the young people over the age of 14. It's voluntary. If they choose to participate, then we'll take care of that. If they're positive, the health department makes sure that they get treated. It is also confidential, so they, and it doesn't affect anything that has to do with court. It's just a service that we offer to help get Rutherford County stats a little lower.
Kind of strange, 0 in 1 month and 23 the next month.
I don't know why, but it is.
All of these testings, are they just for Rutherford County youths, or are they all of them that we would?
Anybody that walks in that chooses to participate, it's free. There's a grant that covers the cost of the specimen cups and everything.
So they could be from anywhere?
They could be from anywhere.
And we have a number of other counties that do use our service.
Right.
Other questions? If not, I will entertain a motion anyway. Approve the report.
Motion accept.
Second, Commissioner Gamble. Second by Commissioner Sereno. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
We've got the Correctional Work Center.
I'll go pretty quick too. I think with Michael and TK, we've got a foot of snow on the ground and everybody's missed dinner, so try to keep it pretty quick. Our report also has 2 months worth. There's the December meeting and our January meeting in there. And then we have our work release program statistics. No significant changes there. We did start a second shift at Schwann's Cosmetic for some females to be working on that program. And then we're going to look at a new company, Wegman. It's Wegman Automotive. It's on Joby Jackson. And I think they wanted 30 people or something like that, which, I mean, we'll have to struggle to get that many, but there's definitely no shortage in spots. We just have to come up with the inmates to put on. But other than that, everything's going good with the work release. You'll see our yearly activity report. Thanks to the sheriff and his group, we are staying pretty steady, and our numbers are staying up. Well, we're thankful for that. And then you'll see the monthly worker reports for November and December. November, you'll see an estimated total combined savings of $104,144 that we saved the county. And then in December, that's down a little bit more because of the holiday, $99,642. And for nearly 2 years now, and going on strong without a budget amendment, so that'll be the end of the report.
Okay. I believe that was you're making a motion to approve the report? Is that what it was, Commissioner? Okay. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Right here. Okay, all in favor of the report, say aye.
Aye.
Motion approves. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks for a good report. Sheriff. Tell you what, before the sheriff gets started right there, gentlemen, I think all of you received this report from Larry Faith, and I hope all of you are going through this and reading, going through this. He spends a lot of time going through this, getting this information, but you can find out a lot about what our department is doing, especially look at your own districts area, what's happening in your district as far as arrests are concerned. And all the divisions of the Sheriff's Department are in this report. So this gives you a little heads up of what is coming here. I know we don't go over this. We used to at one time that we'd be here for maybe an hour or two sometimes. But this right here is every bit of it. And I just printed it off today. And I like to go through it and just look at it by a hard copy every so often just to get some idea of what's going on as far as the Sheriff's Department. So I suggest you do the same, and sometimes you get that chance. Okay, Sheriff?
Do you want to take this agreement real quick?
Go ahead with your agreement, yes.
This is basically housekeeping with the city. We had not signed a new agreement with them on them supporting our APHIS machine, our fingerprint machine. They've been doing it since the late 90s. It's $25,000 a year, but we just needed to update signatures and dates, new mayor, new sheriff.
Two new mayors and
Yeah.
a sheriff and a new chief, and the attorneys felt like that we needed to get current signatures on it. So that's all this is. It's a housekeeping.
You need approval from us?
Yes.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion's been made and second.
I have 2 budget amendments.
I think you got to vote, or you got
Oh,
I'm gonna vote on this one separately on the agreement.
Okay.
And that involved money, didn't it?
25,000 coming to
You're
us.
approving the agreement.
Just the agreement's all we're approving? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries to approve the agreement. Let's go ahead with your amendment.
I want to recognize revenue from insurance recovery for wrecked vehicles at $68,628 to put in our new vehicles. It's 5 wrecks, so that's why that check's so large.
Okay, we'll just go ahead and take both of those if you want to.
Next is recognizing revenue, or taking revenue from public safety in my DEA account and putting it in confidential, which is $319. It's $15,000.
Okay, you've heard the request. Any questions anyone might have? Okay, we will take, did anyone make a motion on that?
Move
Should
to
we be
approve
voting
both.
on these separately since there's, or can we?
We're taking these together is what we said we would do. So I need a
I'll make a
motion.
motion to approve.
Approve those two amendments.
They are separate accounts. Does that matter?
I think it has with Lisa in the past.
They are separate accounts. Let's vote on them separately then.
that was my
Let's go with the first one.
I'll
Was it
rephrase.
on the insurance?
I'll phrase that, make a motion to approve the insurance recovery budget amendment as submitted.
Okay, second. Commissioner Sereno? Call the roll.
Commissioner Irvin?
Yes.
Commissioner Gammon?
Yes.
Commissioner Gurley?
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips?
Aye.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes. And then I need a motion on the other amendment.
I'll make a motion to approve the DEA to confidential budget amendment as submitted.
Okay. Second. Commissioner Irwin? Call the roll.
Commissioner Irvin?
Here. Oh, yes.
Commissioner Gammon?
Yes.
Commissioner Gurley?
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips?
Aye.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
All
Long night.
Okay.
Your regular report, all the accounts actually look like they're in pretty good shape.
I worry about two, but
Which
we'll
one?
deal with.
Which ones are
Our equipment
Equipment.
in the jail, our kitchen equipment especially, it's needing a lot of repair.
It's failing us, it's failing us, you know, that, and then our laundry's coming next right behind, so.
But we'll keep an eye on it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Before y'all leave, I had talked to the sheriff today. Some of you had mentioned about the possibility of touring his department down there, all of us in this committee, and he's agreed to that. And I made the suggestion we do it on a Saturday, if that would help individuals, because some of you have employment, work somewhere else, you're not retired, as some of us are around here and whatever, and I know Commissioner P's not here tonight due to illness. His wife is ill, and that's where he is. But we're going to set a date and get back with you. We want to do this before budget time, and we'll give you a date when we can do that and see if it'll maybe give you a couple of dates or so, see what works out best for everyone. And we'll probably do it on Saturday morning where we can go down there and tour and see the facility, if that'll work for everyone.
We all bring donuts. I expected a bologna sandwich.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Thanks a lot.
We need to approve the report that they have submitted.
Make the motion.
Commissioner Gammon, second. Sereno. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. OSHA.
Good evening.
Hello.
I'd like to report in the month of December, we had a total of 14 injuries that required medical attention for our county employees. That brings the total for the year-to-date to 261. Of that 261, 172 of them are OSHA recordable, 78 were restricted days, 37 were lost time days, and 57 were all others. For those 14 injuries, the incurred dollars, estimated cost for the resolution of those injuries was $24,400. If you look at the first graph that you have in your report there, the number of claims, the 261 at the end of this year compares to 217 last year and 197 the year before that. Just remind you that we have had employees growth, and we talked about that a couple of months ago when we had the graph and everything like that. So the county's grown quite a bit over the last couple of years. That would account for some of the increased claims. The incurred dollars were $687,000 for the end of this year, compared to $596 last year, and 2 years ago to $622,000. Just like to remind everybody, those incurred dollars, it takes about a year for those dollars to settle down, to close out all the claims and everything like that. If an injury should require additional treatment, then of course that's going to go up, and if injury comes in under the dollars and actually close out, then the dollars are reduced. You'll see there the Board of Education had 10 of the injuries for the month, and the total for the Board of Education as far as incurred dollars were $18,900. The county general had the other 4, and they were $5,400. And the next page of your report, you'll see that the injuries for the county were broken up between the sheriff department and the ambulance department too. I wanted to come back, since the OSHA works on a calendar year. I wanted to kind of give you a short recap, and that's what the last page of your report is. As you look at it, I broke it down to the different categories, the groups, slip, trips, and falls, strains, things like that, for the 261 claims. You can see there that the top 3 claims, types of injuries, were slip, trips, and falls, strains, and struck or injured by. Struck and injured by can be an inmate striking somebody, a student striking something, or maybe a door coming by and hitting an employee or something like that, and employee getting struck. So this next year, these will be the 3 top things that we're going to work to educate employees on, try and direct attention, make sure that we look at these things as far as training and as such in order to try and reduce those injuries.
All right, I gotta ask, was caught in, under, or between? I'm just curious. What's that mean? Caught in, under, or between? What is that?
Oh, if you get a hatch, let's say, that's being closed or something, or garage, or you get caught in or between something.
Okay.
Sometimes somebody will have their hand in the doorway when the door gets closed, and then you get your hand caught between the door and the door frame, or some type of equipment.
It's not all that uncommon in industry.
Yeah, but it's not very common in
No,
in our.
maybe it's horseplay, I didn't know.
Caught in, under, or between. It's sort of like one of our committee meetings.
I'd like to see I'd like to see a real aggressive strategy toward trying to eliminate some of these, it's 261 compared to 217. Yeah, the county's growing, but the county's not growing that fast. I hear year after year, well, the county's growing. Well, we had few employees, but our work-related injuries and the cost, which, by the way, is $688,000 plus, no small change. We need to be taking some aggressive, proactive steps to try to eliminate some of these, whether it's by education, enforcement on the part of supervisors or bad practices or whatever. Yes, inevitably there are certain areas of employment, such as law enforcement and EMS and fire and so on, that injury is inevitable because they're highly dangerous jobs. But a lot of these are not incurring in those areas. So take note when we'll be asking some hard questions come budget time.
Yes, sir.
Just because the county's growing by 2 or 3% is not. This is a pretty. I hadn't done it out. This is a pretty significant increase.
But, Mr. Good, I've asked several times, and I asked at the insurance committee meeting the other night to start reporting our total incident rate. The total incident rate is how you compare performance against like industries or like companies, and it doesn't take into account the number of dollars, but the total incidences that you have relative to the number of employees and the hours that are worked. So if you have an up-to-date TIR, you would know how you're performing year to year instead of just performing accident to accident, and that would take into account the number of employees. So if you could start reporting that, I would look at it as a report card that I would have much more confidence in.
The state reports that out once a year. Unfortunately, it runs about a year lag behind the same year. I do have the one with me from a couple years ago that we had. Just had, it's in the last year. It's reported 2015. 2016 should be coming out shortly to be able to do this. The state incident average for the state of Tennessee is 5.0, and our incident rate at that time was 2.3. Now we're computed against the other local government is how we're reported against. So any kind of county, local government that the state has is all mixed in there together. Of course, we're one of the larger counties, a lot of employees, so it kind of spreads out a little bit more than a smaller county that has a small group of people. Have another incident probably higher than that, but goes into that total.
So that part of some of the postings that you have to put up for employees, and isn't the total incident rate part of the required postings?
No, not that one, but I do have one that I'll be getting out before the February 1st, which is the 300A report that has to be posted. It lists all the number of injuries for the county and how many were recordable and lost time and all, and that's in waiting for signature at this time, and I'll have to have that posted by February the 1st. Yes, sir. And I brought a copy, but it's not signed tonight yet, so I wanted to make sure I had that signed before I bring it.
Very good. That accidents, and I'm not 100% sure that government works the same as the private sector, but every accident is placed in one of two categories, and that's some type of an unsafe act or an unsafe condition. So every accident that's investigated is put into one of two categories. And if it's an unsafe condition, then that's something that we work to correct. If it's an unsafe act, that's when you work with individuals to try to improve their performance. So I've learned that in government, sometimes you might put them in one category, but it doesn't fit exactly the way like it may in private industry, because you have a sheriff's deputy that's injured on the job because of, I mean, he's shot. It's just hard to place certain situations in
That's the reason for my statement a moment ago about there are certain categories that are inherently dangerous, but a lot of these are not occurring in those categories.
Well, in industry, if you run on the job, you're disciplined, sometimes severely. But an officer runs on the job all the time. You can't tell him to stop. So I learned several years ago, due to some conversations, that it's hard to place those round pegs in a square hole at times. And the job that you have is a very difficult one. And you don't want to, even though it might be an unsafe act, you don't discipline when someone's hurt because someone attacked them.
Understood.
So I understand what you're going through, but on the other hand, if slips and falls are something that we can improve on, I think you've already said you're going to make that a major
Yes, sir.
focus this year.
One of the things is you've got to work to try and change an individual thought process. So many times supervisors get the impression somebody got hurt, well, it's just an accident.
Yeah.
And therefore it's not avoidable. I mean, you get even to the point of saying, well, there's water on the floor, somebody slipped and fell. The answer is you've got to be more responsive to those incidents where water is on the floor. Be more watchful. People report it. You got to have things stationed so that you can mop up spills and things like that. And that's a matter of trying to get everybody into the right frame of mind. From a safety point of view, a real safety professional will tell you every accident is preventable. And it's just a matter of getting that across to supervisors.
For years, industry just went about their business and didn't pay a lot of attention to the safety aspect of things, but it become such a cost to industry that they made it a top priority, if not the top priority. In essence, employee safety is our #1 job objective. And
Yes, sir.
that happened for years and years and years. It needs to be something like that. I know it would be hard to do, but it needs to be something like that. How important it is to the county to reduce some of that cost.
Yes, sir.
I mean, every dollar you can reduce, it's a dollar you can spend someplace else. Brick and mortar or
Absolutely.
increases or those kinds of things. So.
Good comments. Need a motion to approve this report. Sereno, second. Commissioner Irwin. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, sir.
Good job, Mr. Good. Thank you.
Ambulance service report.
Chairman, as Mike's making his way up, if I could just make an introduction very quickly. We have our new interim director of risk management. some of you have been here for some time and probably remember Lois Miller. She has stepped in and taken over Ms. Street's position. Ms. Street's last day is February 1st, and she's already been on almost
It's my third day.
third day. She's at it. We got her a laptop, I hope. Okay, and so she's going to kind of work through this process as we posted the position. We're accepting applications for that replacement, and so she agreed to come back. She's been retired 8.5 years, but it's like riding a bicycle. You back into it. You're training wheels, right? Okay, but just want to make that introduction.
Thank you.
Glad to
Welcome
have
back.
you. Glad to have you here this evening. Okay, Mr. Nunley.
We made 2,848 calls for the month of December. Response time 7 minutes. We took care of 79 coroner's calls, and we sent 34 of those for autopsy. We billed $1,693,031, collected $727,554. Our projected yearly collection is $8,239,932, which is pretty much right on where we're supposed to be. Table at the bottom of the page, we drove 52,841 miles, and the average cost was 46 cents per mile. The next page just lists all of our in-services and training and special event standbys and so forth. Following page is our special operations team. They were involved with 163 calls. They include the sick hours in the report each month, because as Commissioner Gurley was talking a minute ago about $600,000 not being a sum that you would just write off. Our sick time approaches that number as well, about $56,000 a month. And everything else in that report is thank you notes of some type.
Very good. Any comments?
If I read the November report right, your response time was under 7 minutes.
It was.
So congratulations.
Thank you.
First time I've seen that in a while.
It's the first time I've seen it in a while, too. The ideal is to get it down somewhere around 6 minutes. If the total response time is around 6 minutes, then you can begin to look at individual areas. There's always going to be a call or two. It's an extended response time for some reason, but if you can get 90 or 95% of your calls under 6 minutes, then that's doing well.
Move to approve the report. Mr. Chairman. Motion made to approve. Second. Commissioner Earl. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Fire and rescue report. Chief Farley, you're on cleanup.
I just want to say we have hired our 15 firefighters on the grant, and they started December the 3rd. So we split them up between the two main stations. So working with the mayor to hopefully get some money for some drawings this year, and CTAS, talked to CTAS today, and they said that the reports is just about finished. He'll probably have it in a week or so, As soon as I get that, I'll email that out to all the commissioners, make sure y'all got a copy if we can look it over. This covers December, and I have all of last year's numbers. For the month of December, we had 3 structure fires, 4 vehicle fires. We ran 264 medical calls, 36 motor vehicle accidents with injuries. We had 50 without injuries, and had 3 extrications, for a total of 481 calls for the month of December. Year to date, we had 61 structure fires, 37 vehicle fires. We ran 2,762 medical calls. We had 297 motor vehicle accidents with injuries and 355 MVAs without injuries. Typo right there. Had 22 extrications for the year, for a total of 5,208 calls for the year for Rutherford County Fire Rescue. The next list is a rundown of totals for including all the volunteer fire departments. Countywide, we had 121 structure fires, 199 brush fires. We had 77 vehicle fires and 1,232 MVAs. I think that's a record. We had 40 MVAs with extrication involved, and we for a total of 6,746 calls, which I think that totals up to over 1,000 last year. The next sheet is what we turn into the codes department that has structures that have been perceived damaged that will probably be requesting a permit to repair or remodel. The next report is our fire investigation report, showing what the outcome was on some of those incidents. And the last page is just to run down information on the fire prevention grant we want to apply for. It's a fire safety house trailer, smart fire safety trailer, interactive kitchen package, generator, and basically this is, the county's portion of this is $4,521. This is something we want to be able to utilize in our elementary schools to teach fire prevention. I think this is something, this kind of money is something I want to spend on a grant instead of requesting out of county funds. But I think it can be a very valuable tool for us to use at our elementary schools as we try to work with the younger kids teaching about fire safety and fire prevention.
So the grant would be for almost $95,000, and the county portion would be $4,500?
Yes, sir.
Move to approve the request for the grant.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion to do both, so.
And
We'll approve that grant, you're applying for that grant right now. We've already got the 2 motions, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
okay.
So if you're successful, you'll come back with the funds in hand for us to approve?
Come up with the 45.
I'll bring it back that we received the grant and get your approval to accept the money.
Accept the money.
Yes, sir. December, we got the fire prevention grant I told y'all about. We did a canvas out in the Halls Hill Pike area, and we included Kitchener Volunteer Fire Department and Lascassas. And the objective is to go out and to target high-risk areas. And on that date, we installed with like I say, Lascassas, Kitchener, working with us, and the American Red Cross, we installed 165 smoke alarms in homes out in that area. Last Saturday, we did another canvas out in the Manchester area, and we partnered with Christiana and American Red Cross, and we installed 120 smoke alarms, and for a total of 285 alarms that we've gotten off that grant. And I need to get a number on the total of deaf impaired, hearing impaired alarms. We've installed a lot of those. We've partnered with Murfreesboro, Smyrna, and Laverne, and put those in the city and try to meet that need everywhere we can. But that's been a big asset to us. And Commissioner Phillips, you said something about working with you and kind of informing y'all on things coming down the road as far as expenses. I'll cover a lot more of that in February after I meet with the mayor and give you a 5-year plan on what things we're gonna need, but one of the things I will mention we'll have to put in our budget this year is self-contained breathing apparatus, air packs. The last time the county bought air packs for the entire county was in 2000 when they bought the fire trucks, the 14 fire trucks. Those bottles only last 15 years, so we bought some bottles last year to try to supplement that, but it was nowhere near what it should be. And so probably included in our capital outlay budget this time, probably $650,000 for those air packs. Now, hopefully, we did write a grant for that. Y'all approved that. Hopefully, the grant will come through, and it'll be a small match. But either way, we're gonna have to make that purchase. So I'm hoping, praying the grant comes through, and that'll save us that much money. But if not, that'll be part of our request this year. And this will cover every volunteer fire department in the county, because like I say, these air packs are, I think the air pack, the harness, backpack, and the 2 bottles are right at $6,500 a piece. Of course, this is what we have to have to sustain, air when we're inside of a smoke-filled structure.
But there's
Mr.
one
Chairman.
advantage to this, and that is that if I'm correct, correct me if I'm wrong,
Okay.
the breathe time is longer on the new pad.
Yes, what we bought in 2000 was 2216, which is, of course, depends on the height, weight, and the physical conditioning of the firefighter, is about 30 minutes. These will be 45-minute bottles, which will give us longer capability to stay inside and hopefully accomplish more work. But I just kind of wanted to give you a heads up on that's coming down the pike. That's something that we've written grants the last 3 years, and now we're getting down to the wire where we're going to have them. So we've been turned down, but hopefully, every time you write a grant, you talk to FEMA people and get better ideas and different terminology what to use. So hopefully we'll be lucky enough to get that this year.
The reason we asked for this, if you'll remember, Mr. Chairman, is that Chief Farley was presenting a budget just for 12 months, and we kind of wanted to look a little bit out in the future to see if he could explain to us what he saw coming over the next 4 or 5 years, so that we could maybe work toward it as far as looking at other departments' budgets too, and kind of begin to prioritize some of those things. So,
Well, I think on the 5-year budget, capital outlay, we've got some of those things in there.
it's exactly what I was looking for anyway, that we could better look at the future and other departments request the same way, and maybe begin to prioritize some of those things. Okay.
Each year, we apply for these grants each year from FEMA, and each year you have to read what their top priorities are. And so we try to apply for, what has a better chance of getting picked. So like I said, we've done this last 3 years, requested these and been turned down, but now we're getting out of the wire where we're going to have to do something to purchase them or a grant. And of course, we hope the third time's charm. But we try to offset a lot of our costs by getting these grants, and it's a big asset and big help to us.
I think we could better manage our money if like the ambulance department gave us a 5-year plan, and I'm going to need a new ambulance next year, and then 3 years from now, I'm going to need a new fire truck next year. And if all of them hit it the same year, we'd have to tell somebody no. And if we had a better tool to look over the next
5-year calendar there.
Well, I think for the last 4 or 5 years, we've been spending 1.1 million. So like 1.175, I think. We've been able to buy 1 or 2 and sometimes 3 fire trucks on our fire replacement plan. We've already replaced just about every one of the trucks that were bought in 1991. So we've made a big headway on it, and we're starting to. And of course, this also includes some of the volunteer trucks, so everybody's been included in it. So that's been kind of kept in with our budget. What we spent each year.
Chief Farley attends all the planning commission meetings and knows where some of the growth is coming, and can better plan on where we need things in the future by being an intricate part of that planning process. So good. I'm glad to see that coming. Thank you.
And the CTAS study, of course, is an independent study. Will give you all an idea of where not only maybe the next fire station be, but where the next 3 should be. it kind of taking in the response data off the CAD to, where's the longest response area to, based on our runs. And so it'll give y'all a better plan on where we need to look at as far as placing these stations. Of course, as it goes with saying, when the Rockville school goes into effect, Rockville's gonna explode. So I kind of think that's probably one of them. And when they put a high school out there, Christiana, of course, and if you notice, anywhere we put in high schools, Blackman, Oakland, Rudell, that's a lot of growth
It's
there.
already happened. Stewart's Creek was opened in 2013. This is starting year 6, this is year 6, and the growth is astronomical. There's 400 to 500 houses platted out within 3/4 of a mile of my house.
I actually know families that actually sold their home and moved to that area just so their kids could go to that high school.
It's already happening in Rockville, we're already seeing that.
So based on the conversation I had today, I won't give too much away, but I think Rockville's gonna be one of those target areas.
Christiana may be ahead of the high school curve with all of the lots that's being approved out in that area. That's probably going to require a high school versus waiting for a
After
high
this
school.
morning, with the 210 more lots, Shelbyville Highway's about to be a 8-lane to be able to get into Murfreesboro in the mornings. It's unbelievable.
Okay, and I want to thank your group too for what they do with the smoke detectors. I mean, I think that's vital to this county and how y'all have done that and the results you've had from that. You even caused me to get new smoke detectors in my house. After you said here one night how long they last, and I realized mine had been in the house for 20 years. They were hooked to my security system, so I had to go through the security. You cost me some money replacing those. Ranger even has his own smoke detector.
Oh, really?
Now,
Good.
so I mean, he's even got one. So that dog's out there by a heater tonight. He's got his own heater. But that is good that we're doing that here in this county. I don't believe we've approved this report. Do I hear a motion to approve the report?
So moved.
Motion made, second. Commissioner Sereno. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries.
You see so many people who don't have smoke alarms and people who probably can't afford them, and that's where we target. And and the guys realize when they go in there and hang these smoke detectors that, I mean, they're really saving a life, because that 3 or 4 minutes they have to wake them up. And we try to put one every, we don't skimp on, we put one in every bedroom, and it has a big impact. So I'm proud of what we do. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any other business?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
We're adjourned.